Welcome back to the 2022 Lake Chabot New Year's Classic driven by Innova. I'm Juliana Korver, and joining me today in the garage is Ella Hansen.
Yes, we're looking here at the back 9 of the Hills course, which was our second round on Saturday. And starting with hole 11. This is a par 4. We got a new tee here. This green is OB. And then looking to get the disc up, navigating through these trees to the basket. And this ground is also some new sort of dirt-ish, so also not too skippy.
There is a cart path on the right that is OB, and there is a fence line on the left that is OB.
Mm-hmm. And Owen going over the green here with a forehand.
This looks fairly flat, though you can't always tell elevation from the videos, so
it definitely is much flatter than most of our other holes. It sort of goes back up a little bit once you get past this green.
That green is in a very tricky spot for the women.
Absolutely, yeah. You can sort of try to go short, you can bail out right, or you can try to push it over the edge, and Camille just sneaking over there.
Especially with the trees on the left and the OB on the right, so you don't really want to turn something over because then you got the OB on the right, and you don't want to hyzer something out because you've got the trees on the left, so just throw it really far, just like Ella did.
Yeah, this is probably one of the only holes on the course, on both courses actually, that we played that I felt was in eagle range, so I was really just trying to go for it and get it as close to the basket as I could.
Oh, that's a little low for Amanda. Oh, but I think maybe she did that on purpose to stay short of the green.
Yep, she gets a nice stop there before the green. She'll be safe.
Now you can see two different cuts, and it is the shortest cut of the grass on the green that is out of bounds.
Yeah, some of these greens have a lot of fringe, and unfortunately Jen very close to being safe, but
not so. It looks like she was within.
So what we ended up determining, you could sort of see the path that the disc had rolled. And so we saw that she had rolled safe, but then gone back out of bounds onto the green.
I see. So the ground is wet enough that you could see the trail of where the disc. Interesting.
Yeah. So she ended up taking it on that front side of the green because we had seen that it had touched inbounds over there, even though it ended up out of bounds. And Owen with some tough, muddy footing here, going with the standstill forehand. And this green, too, has a little bit of a slope up behind it, so has kind of a nice backstop there if you go a little too far. I sort of try to give it half a run, but...
Looks like you skipped off the basket at the end of that flight. The bottom of the basket.
Yeah, just a little bit. I was close enough, and it was a nice little backstop there, so I figured I might as well give it a little bit of a run. And Jen just hitting the front cage.
That would have been a really nice save for Jen if she could have made that.
Amanda getting it in for her birdie. Camille with a short look for her birdie here. Cashing it in.
This particular hole is a par 4 for the women, and I feel that's a little bit of a easy par 4.
Absolutely, yeah. This was an adjustment. There was a longer tee here that was used for the MPO and some of the other divisions. And personally, I think that I like the longer tee, but I think that having an easy par 4 on here is also not too bad. And
well, I haven't mentioned it before, but there have been plenty of holes where I thought that the distance was much farther than one might expect for par 3s. So this maybe evens it out a little bit.
Yeah, I think it gives the course a little bit of balance, and it still has that challenge, especially with the green and with those trees around the basket.
Oh, the look of despair. Just about made it.
All right, we got another uphill, pretty low ceiling shot here. This is hole 12. It's 240 feet, but as you can see, we've got a lot of low hanging branches here. And this basket is kind of perched next to some foliage, so that can be a little challenging as well.
There's a Mando on this hole, and I'm guessing it's the tree that Owen just went to the
Yes.
right of. Is that true?
Yes, but she ended up kicking off the tree and back, so she did not miss the Mando. But yes, that tree is a Mando, so it kind of takes that wide hyzer route out. And I thought I had pured it and just caught some very strong branch, and I was bummed.
Due to the uphill nature of this hole, it looks as if you have to just get underneath that canopy in order to get the distance far enough to the basket. So it looks like your shot was an inch high of being perfect.
Yep, and that's about how I felt too. Amanda catching that Mando tree as well, but she will be safe and she'll have a wide open upshot. Camille has done a really good job, as you said earlier, about getting those angles correct on these uphill and downhill shots, and she pumps that further than any of us.
Oh,
She'll be CTP.
great shot by Jen as well. Yeah, Camille is doing a really fantastic job keeping her disc on parallel to the topography of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's very hard to do, especially on the downhill throws, because it's not necessarily intuitive to do that. You want to throw, a lot of people will get on the elevated tee and just want to throw straight out, trying to get max distance.
Yeah, that was something that I know playing this tournament I had to remind myself of, and I had it in my notes to make sure I was throwing downhill on the downhill shots.
That was a really beautiful and well executed shot by Owen, doing a behind the back around that tree with the low ceiling and the elevation. A lot of different aspects to that shot, and she played it out very nicely. Yeah. Amanda feeling great, as she should, about that beautiful upshot.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun on this card. It was a great group. Jen with a long look. That was definitely a layup there. Although we saw her putting with no fear earlier, so.
This is another hole where there is looks as if there's great potential for roll away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have this kind of bush here that catches a lot of discs, and even though you might be 5 feet from the basket, it's pretty challenging. I ended up hitting a tree on my upshot, so that's me pitching up for a 4. Owen taking her par from that great upshot she had.
That's frustrating, carding a bogey when you were just an inch high of what looked like it would have been a perfect shot.
Yeah, that was a definitely big frustration for me. Jen tapping in her par. And then Camille and Amanda are going to get into this bush.
Camille keeps finding something right between her and the basket and forcing her to do these really obstructed putts.
Yeah.
At least she was pretty close to the basket on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least this bush, although definitely was unpleasant to sort of dig your way in there, it was puttable. Amanda having to get sneaky with her little drop in there. Taking another look at her upshot.
What a beautiful shot. No wobble at all in that one.
All right, hole 13, another par 4 here. This one is 480 feet. Another low ceiling tee shot. This path here is safe, and that green on the right is OB, and then you're going back uphill to this basket that's protected by that tree on the right.
So even though you're throwing, or at least the land slopes downward off the tee, the basket is up again, and that low ceiling looks like it's going to keep you from getting very much distance on this drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a shorter par 4, only 480 feet, but this tee shot does not allow you to bite off a lot of that distance.
There is an OB on the right-hand side, though it looks like that doesn't necessarily have to come into play. Looks like the fairway is wide enough that shouldn't be too scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of us are taking just this middle gap, trying to throw it straight and bite off as much as we can. Jen playing a little more of a turnover. That gives her... It's honestly a nice spot because she's on more flat ground for her approach. The rest of us kind of on a side hill, and I got in my head a little bit about those low ceiling. I ended up skipping it off the ground, but...
Oh, look at now you have you have a dry footing.
Right,
at least.
Exactly. It didn't turn out too poorly for me. And I just got a big wide hyzer here for my approach shot.
Do you remember, is the ground still wet at this point in the day? Because
Yeah.
if it is, these side hill run-ups can be very tricky.
Yeah, the ground was wet pretty much the whole day. It was, it was muddy, it was slippery, it was definitely slippery on these side hills. And Jen just trying to get it over the green. She does that well. Owen playing it a little wide. But she's past that tree, so she has an open look at the basket.
Is that tree in front of the basket? It looks...
It's about parallel to the basket, I think. Maybe a little in front. But it definitely makes you think when you throw in this...
Oh,
players trying to throw a hyzer and, you get too wide, you hit that tree.
Camille had such a good shot there, though it got a little bit of a roll and I think might bring that tree into play. But that's been her round so far. Must have an obstacle in front of me to putt.
Yeah. Jen trying to give it a long bid. This is another hole with this uphill backstop kind of that allows you to give it a run even if you're pretty far away. And make
Oh
it
my goodness, what a
if you're
good
on.
putt.
That was a really cool putt. That's a lot of elevation there.
That puts Owen at a 5 under so far for the round.
Mm-hmm. She was on fire. Right in the basket. You can see from this angle just how steep that putt was. Camille getting her birdie. I sneaking in that birdie a little right side.
Almost tried to jump out the backside.
Yeah. I'm really happy getting a birdie there, especially after
that
turfing
drive.
my
Yeah.
drive.
You had very good distance based on the trajectory of that drive.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was lucky to get that skip. And Amanda and Jen tapping in pars there. So Owen is sort of building this big lead. She's got a 6-stroke lead on me. I've got a 3-stroke lead on Camille. The scores are starting to spread out here, and we're looking at hole 14, par 3, 253 feet, pretty significantly uphill. And this rock wall on the right is safe, but that building on the left, it has an open floor, and actually if you end up in there, that's out of bounds.
So not the cement around the building, but actually inside the building.
Yes.
And clearly the path in front of the basket is not out
correct.
of bounds.
It's safe. And Owen getting pretty close up to that building on the left, and that's kind of a tough spot on the left. If you get too close, it kind of cuts off the angle. Camille getting up there inside circle 2.
So this is 253 feet, but due to the uphill nature, I'm guessing it plays a little more than 300?
Yeah, I would say like 300, 325 area. And it is, you know, that rock wall on the right is not OB, but you don't really want to end up over there, as we see Amanda getting caught up early, because it's a very obstructed putt with all of that, those sticks and shrubs and foliage over there. Amanda just getting jump putt up there. That footing is tough there for Jen. I see a lot of players going more to a straddle putt there with sort of that uneven footing, but Jen going for the traditional track stance.
Excellent. Smooth.
Yeah.
Every time I see you on screen, I'm thinking, Sweden. We're wearing the colors of Sweden in your round 2 footage.
I was just going for colorful. And Owen kind of with this tough straddle out putt here. She didn't get super close to the building, but it definitely is coming into play on her putt. But she cans her birdie as well.
Now, if you look at the map, the course map, or talk to anybody, you know, this course is kind of thought of as a long arm course, but yet perhaps our shortest thrower off the tee is the one who's walking away with it right now, and that well, that speaks to the power of Owen's putting, but it also shows you that just because a hole is long, that doesn't mean that having massive distance is going to give you the advantage over the field.
And he told me what I was doing, and I made the best brownies ever. Oh!
Okay. A lot of these holes are, you know, longer par 4s, but they take a lot of placement too. So making sure you get your disc in an accurate spot is sometimes more important than throwing far.
Absolutely.
This is a long par 3, 414 feet, turnover backhander, wide forehand, and that those bushes on the right are out of bounds, I believe.
Yes, on the right there are stakes in that tree line. That is an OB line. The left-hand side is not out of bounds. Any one of those paths on the left-hand side is not out of bounds.
And I sort of tried to give it a little bit of a turnover, but I did not want to burn it over into those bushes, so I stayed wide.
I am impressed, though, that you got on top of that hill. I wasn't sure if that was going to be reachable by the FPO, and it's good to see you up there.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is on the edge of reachable. I think if I had a couple shots at it, I could get inside circle 1, but it definitely is a very risky shot if you mess it up.
Yeah, this feels like this is on the edge of a reasonable distance with the elevation for a par 3 for the women. Oh, so straight. Really like her shot.
She throws it with a lot of power, but still managing to keep it controlled and right down the middle. So a couple of us have some strange footing again, sort of, as you can see, Amanda falling down after her shot on the side hill, but she throws a great one. And this basket as well, it's sort of set up on the top of this little ridge.
Very interesting run-ups here, because it's not uncommon that you'll have an up or a down, but it does seem to be much more uncommon to have a side hill run up. And in this case, again, I would recommend smaller steps, but you have the added weirdness of your feet not being at the angle to your calves that that you expect.
Yeah.
So it just adds another dimension that you might not think about when you're watching the video.
Absolutely. And we're all pitching up to the basket here. It's sort of on the back side of this little mesa, and so it's a little iffy if you go too far.
So it's a natural elevated basket.
Yes. Amanda taking her par. And yeah, honestly, these were all great approach shots, especially with that footing and the placement of this basket. Getting it within the bullseye is great.
Yeah, looking at this one on paper, I actually thought that it was going to play much harder than you guys all showed me it did.
And we're all just tapping in. Everyone with a par except for Jen taking a bogey. Take another look at Jen's drive. Lots of power.
Oh, and getting it close enough that she doesn't even need a run up for that approach.
That definitely does help on these holes, taking that standstill instead of having to do a run up on those hilly side hills. All right, hole 16, par 3, 360 feet, downhill with this low ceiling. So it kind of slopes down and then back up here, and a big drop off behind this basket if you send it too far. And with some hard packed ground there, you can definitely get a skip further than you would like.
There's a lot going on with this hole, and there's a path on the left that is OB as well, so you're forced to go through the middle of the trees here. So you've got that low ceiling, but yet you've got an uphill slope at the end of the fairway. So this is a very tough hole for the women to reach.
Yeah, this is another one where you know, in order to get up to the basket, you really have to push that ceiling, and it can be a little scary if you get too close to it. Camille giving it a big rip. She's down there kind of in that flat area at the bottom of the hill. Amanda lacing it right down the middle. Unfortunately catching a tree there on the right, but kicking it back out right into the fairway. And this is a disc that Jen has thrown on a lot of her tee shots. It's a Halo Sidewinder, and she was doing some really good things with that disc on this whole weekend. Camille ended up with this kind of a tricky angle and approach here.
Very tricky. She's got low ceiling again. I can't even see where the basket is from. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, she really only had the angle to throw that forehand approach there. And Amanda going standstill, getting a big skip and roll. This is what you really want to avoid, and that is out of bounds.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That was a pretty good shot. It was a little bit long, but up until this point, we really haven't seen very many skips. So I'm guessing she didn't anticipate that she was going to get that kind of action.
Yeah, that ground up where the basket is definitely different sort of composition than all the grass, and so can kind of be a little sneaky. I'm just trying to play Little skip up, ended up a little short there on my approach. And this is from Jen's drive. So she's got a little bit of a look. And it looks like she's just laying up.
I think that's a good choice with the way the land slopes away from the basket.
Mm-hmm. Amanda catching the cage, but not able to save her bogey there. And this is a tough shot here from Camille, putting downhill with another huge slope behind the basket.
Oh, so close on that one.
Yeah, just catching it. Fortunately, she was able to keep herself from rolling down the hill.
Boy, you were shorter than it looked on your approach. You've got a
Yeah.
scary shot here, too.
Yeah. I was really happy to hit that putt.
Very smooth, clean, nicely done.
But yeah, with Owen on fire so much, I knew I had to go for those kind of putts. I couldn't be laying them up if I wanted to have a chance at catching her. Jen tapping in her par. And Camille looking at a putt for bogey here.
I was a little low. I was a little worried about that one.
Yeah. Sneaking it over the top of the cage. So pars for everyone. Camille with a bogey. And Amanda tapping in her double bogey. Oh man, I wish somebody had told me to fix my collar. Alright, hole 17 here. We've got another low ceiling drive here. This is a par 4, 459 feet. This path, do you know if this path on the right was safe?
It is not out of bounds.
I believe it was safe. So the only out of bounds on this hole was a green up and to the left, but it shouldn't really come into play here. So most players are just kind of looking to get it out there onto the fairway as far as they can here and then look to get it up in.
So it looks like the what's affecting you the most on this tee shot is that the limbs, the low ceiling. They're either going to force you to go low or force you to go out to the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And with the uphill nature of this hole, distance, it's going to be very, very hard to get close to this pin. This is almost 500 feet uphill. This is, I'm not sure about the par 3 on this one.
Oh, it's par 4. It's a par 4.
Oh, okay. Good. Happy
Yeah.
to hear it.
Yeah, it definitely was more open without as many limbs here on the left side, so most of us are kind of playing that straight to hyzer shot out and just getting caught up in those little hills, fairway hills.
So now it looks like when you're approaching this, you're going to have to worry about overthrowing the basket because it does drop away behind the basket.
Absolutely, yeah. This was a touchy approach shot for sure, and unfortunately Owen threw a forehand and sort of cut rolled back down towards this path, so she has a really tough upshot here. And sneaks up there. See if she has a look at a birdie.
Can you see the pin from where you are
Absolutely
on your
not.
upshots? Okay.
No. Well, I think Jen could see it there, but I think for those of us who ended up going further left, you can't really see the basket. And Amanda also trying to play it out wide to the right. Yeah, from here I have this hill in the way and I cannot see the basket. So I just, picked what trees it was between and tried to throw it there.
This is another very, nicely done. Very tricky shot because not only is it blind, but you have to go up and over that hill and then get it to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was playing, sort of trying to hit just before the top of the hill and get a skip down. But there's curbs there too, as you can see, which makes that really challenging. And Own trying to get it up there, but tapping a tree, and she'll have a long look for her par there. No problem.
What a shot.
That is a great par save, especially considering hitting that tree and sort of burning out on her drive. That was a really impressive putt.
It looked like she was circle 2. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and super death putt. You know, you miss that and you're circle 2 again. So no fear from Own, as we've come to expect. Jen trying to give it a bid. Oh, excuse me, Amanda.
I think that was a conservative one. A little bit of respect for the rollaways.
And Camille taking
Nice
her birdie.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well played.
that one felt good. Jen in for her par.
Par looks good on this hole.
Absolutely. It is a tough get. Amanda with kind of a long comebacker here. She makes it. Take another look at Owen's putt. Camille filming it too. She just walking it in. She knows it's in.
Beautiful.
All right, hole 18. This is probably the steepest hole I have ever played at this distance. It's 435 feet. This green on the right is out of bounds, and the path on the left is also out of bounds, so it plays as an island. If there's a drop zone if you don't make it in bounds.
I have been looking forward to seeing this hole because this has over 100 feet of elevation loss, and I just couldn't quite imagine it.
So I'm playing a hyzer with a stable fairway driver out to the right. Most of us are either going to sort of go for that hyzer right or just throw sort of straight downhill at the basket. Camille didn't quite get wide enough on hers and unfortunately goes out of bounds.
Now you're also throwing pretty directly into the sun. Is that in your mind at all on this shot?
Absolutely. It was pretty bright, and with a shot like this, you know, you kind of just have to go for it no matter whether you can see the basket or not.
That was a really good shot by Own. 435 feet, and she throws it 15, 20 feet behind the pin?
Yeah. Jen hoping to dig, and she does. That is safe. That muddy area caught her from going out of bounds.
Looks like she got that one a little bit too high, and it fell off left more than she was expecting. If she had a lower trajectory, that would have stayed flat longer.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that trajectory. Is it going to get over the green?
No. I liked that too. It looked really good out of her hand, but just not quite enough distance.
Pulled a little bit to the right, but I really liked how much downhill she threw that.
And after a very long walk from the top of the hill down to the basket, we got a couple of drop zone looks here. And this green, well, you can see here just how muddy it was. It was really hard to find footing. Jen with a long look for birdie. You can see my foot is just sinking into the ground. Really hard to...
Oh, you still had enough power, just faded just a tiny bit right before it got to the chains.
Just caught just a little bit of chains. I was really hoping that one would go in, but I'll take a 3 on this hole. No one taking her 2. Wiping off her disc. Saying thank you to the fans.
That puts her at 7 under for this particular round.
Mm-hmm. And Amanda with the bogey. Camille's gonna tap in her bogey, and Jen and I are gonna tap in pars. And 18 is not our last hole. We still have to go back and play hole 1. But we had a really fun little fan club here on this hole. Same fan club as earlier on hole 10, so it's always fun to get some cheers.
Here's another look at Owen's really accurate tee shot.
This is just such a fun hole to throw. This is one that you want to just empty your bag on, and then you get down there and have made a mistake because you can't find any of your discs. All right, our last hole. This is hole 1. It's a par 4, 557 feet. We have this new tee pad sort of tucked away on the left, which kind of forces you to throw more of a hyzer angle, or Owen's throwing a forehand. You kind of just want to get down into this flat valley area and have a look for your upshot.
So it looks like it is easy to potentially air on the left-hand side, which would put you on that side hill, which would give you a very tricky run-up for the second shot.
Absolutely, yeah. I think most of us are just trying to get down there and be on that flat ground sort of at the bottom of the valley, because like we saw earlier, it's tough to be on those side hills. And especially if you end up too right, it's hard to get around it. It ends up sloping back uphill pretty significantly, and it's hard to get enough power from over there. Camille throwing something very flippy.
The basket is on the right side, so also if you're on the right side, you're going to end up with a blind approach. Although, actually, is it too far that even if you're on the left-hand side, it's still blind?
You can see the basket if you end up sort of left in the valley, but you can see Jen is dealing with some tough footing here, and yeah, she will have a pretty much blind approach.
And she's choosing to stand still because of the mud. That's a smart choice.
Still sort of slipping out. Yeah, this upshot is tricky, and it deceives you, I think. It looks a lot shorter than it really plays. Maybe it's because it was our last hole, but it just is challenging. Camille with some tough footing there, sort of on the side of that path. She'll be on the side of the path again for her next shot. And this was a completely blind shot for Owen on that side hill.
Though it does line up nicely for a sidearm.
Absolutely. She takes it just a little too inside and catches some trees. Amanda can see the basket from here. Doesn't quite get enough height on that. She'll have a long look for a birdie.
This looks like you still have quite a distance to go.
Yeah. And I sort of sawed off that forehand there. That hill right before the basket catches a lot of discs like that too, that make it challenging. Camille with a really good approach from that tough footing. Jen trying to give it a run. And Owen has a really tough putt here. She ended up sort of inside of this bush and having to straddle out left.
And putting downhill at the basket.
Yeah. She'll end up just taking her par. And even though I sawed off my shot, I still have a long look for birdie.
Are you outside of circle one?
I don't know.
Looks like you're close to
I think
the
I
edge.
was close enough that I was just like, I'll just stand still.
Oh, see how
Yeah.
muddy it is.
Absolutely. Everyone here just tapping in pars, I believe. And that gives Owen a 7-down round, which was a heater, first of all.
That's impressive. That's impressive with the conditions, with the mud and the dew. You also shooting under par, 4 under, very good round.
And you can see Owen's round, 1,000 rated, just crushed it. Yeah, it was a super fun round. And Camille shooting even, Jen +1, Amanda +4, so giving a little more stratification and spread for our lead card. That will still be the lead card for the next round.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you come back and join us for round 3.
And thank you to all the sponsors for helping put this event together.
Shout out to Scott Riley, our tournament director for the weekend.
And thanks to everyone else, all the volunteers, for putting together this coverage and making sure everything ran smoothly.